Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Ishvaro Guratmeti Multibeda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshmaham Om Shanti 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 Om. Okay, Namaste, welcome. I'll make this bigger. Let's begin from verse 8.4. This Maya is the dynamic aspect of the latent, self-sufficient, and supreme of the supreme consciousness, and it is unfailing. So unfailing, so it means to say it can't help. This Maya power, it can't help but to play its trick, let's say, you know. It all the time it does. Only when it gets tired and then it falls asleep for a few billion years, and then it comes again, because the nature of Maya is superimposition, is to project duality on that which is absolutely one without a second, projecting apparent duality on non-duality. So it does not fail doing what it is designed to do somehow. And then he makes the parallel of the yogis, the charmers, and the magicians, that they are so confident and sure that they are going to play their trick, and nobody's going to figure out the trick. But Ishwara is good friends with Maya, but it's not that good friends with Maya, because Ishwara throws the scriptures for us so that we can see the trick. We can understand the trick. And we can understand the true nature of reality as the consciousness of the observer observing this magic show projected by Maya. Yeah? So these charmers, they are confident that nobody is going to ever see their trick. And so Maya is confident. Even Krishna Guru says that by the power of my Maya, I'm going to delude all my jivas, my human jivas. Yeah? So I'm going to delude, but at the same time, Krishna Guru is trying to say, look, but not you guys, because you are Vedantins, you are inquirers, you know, you are here with me on the Gita. So you are the very rare exceptions that are not going to be deluded by the power of Maya, you know. So and shaman confident and sure without revealing themselves, and yet they play upon the imagination of others seeking to achieve the impossible. So the others are just imagining that it is real, that the trick superimposed by Maya is real, and people try to achieve the impossible. I think last class I have interpreted this: seeking to achieve the impossible is to seek to achieve true happiness in media, you know, from the superimposition of Maya. Yeah? So people are imagining that reality is duality, and the objects are there to meet my likes and desires, my likes and dislikes, and by doing so, I may achieve this perfect happiness and freedom. Division in consciousness amounts to contraction within particular limits under the guise of the ego, which is usually termed imperfection or ignorance. So all these apparent divisions. So what are the divisions? Divisions is the plurality of namarupas that we find in the universe. So the absolute is one without a second, but it appears divided by so many different configurations superimposed by Maheshwara, no? So human jivas and other jivas and inert beings and everything is an object. And not to talk about the subtle world of objects as well. So we're going to find infinite numbers, numberless objects in the world of physical and non-physical phenomenal objects. So, and who is responsible for all of that? It is a contraction that occurs in consciousness, which brings about the limited ego. We see the limited ego under the guise of the ego, which is usually termed imperfection or avidya, ignorance, limitation, the ego. The ego is limited by all means possible. It knows so little, but as I say it again and again and again, and this ego has the power to know the only knowledge that is available for sure for the Jiva Atma. All other knowledge, they are never necessarily good knowledge. They are always subject to error, revisions and mistakes. But self-knowledge is said to be the only knowledge that once gained, it's not subject to error. So it is imperfect, but it's within its imperfection, which makes it to be bound to samsara, totally under the spell of Maya, vidya. But in spite of all of that, there is a potential to the knowledge that frees the ego from avidya, and allows the ego to recognize its limitless nature in Brahman, in consciousness as consciousness. So the ego is imperfect, and this imperfect ego has the potential to go beyond this ignorance and realize its perfect, pure, limitless, true nature. That is the game of life. That's the price we have to pay to have this potential ego, this potential mind, intellect, which is more often than not, in most cases under the spell of this huge cosmic ignorance. But it gives us certain potential, as it seems life is nothing but this game. This game of consciousness contracting to feel like the limited ego, and it's going to feel imperfect, limited, and it's going to try to know what's going on in its surrounding, in its environment. It's try to consume different sorts of experience to try to feel safe and tranquil and satisfied. And we've seen that ignorance, there is a spike of consciousness which reflects in the subtle body, which allows this Jiva Atma in its due course. It's a punya, spiritual punya, merit, allows this Jiva Atma to understand its true perfect nature. In this manner, Bhagava has consciousness, the absolute, apparently invested its own pure, free, limitless, independent nature with ignorance. It seems to be iridescent with its different entities. What is iridescent? I forgot again.
It's like a shining,
Okay.
Radiant.
Yeah, so it appears as if consciousness has somehow extended itself to become the self-ignorant jiva, and then it appears as if it is shining, as the shining world, as we know from Shining World website. So it's shining as the universe of infinite numbers of objects, including the living creatures, different entities. So in this manner, so what is the manner he's talking about? Maya, that thing that somehow cannot help but to produce its magic show. So in this way, the limitless absolute consciousness appears to be invested. Its pure nature, which is limitless and independent, it is colored by ignorance, and it seems to shine as different jivas. And these jivas are going to feel great suffering and due to this self-ignorance, which is hard to be overcome, as we know. Hence, the identity of space with the self. Hence, the identity of space with the self is not apparent to the learned, because they are incapable of investigating the self with a steady mind, for the mind is diverted by its inherent disposition to go outward. Okay. Now, I think we have seen this verse. I think I have unfold that quite for some time. It's important verse which says that he brings again the analogy of the space as similar to the self. The identity of the self, let's forget about this space analogy. The identity of the self is not really easy to be comprehended, not even by the learned ones, learned in any field of knowledge, and even some spiritual learned, academics or of the Hindu scripture and Vedantic scripture. They are not really able to investigate the nature of the self within itself with a steady mind, because the mind is not pure enough. It still has some dispositions to go outward. So what is the outward disposition of this mind? So the mind is still using the scriptural knowledge. Let's keep it on that realm. Only not really scientific knowledge, but Upanishadic knowledge. There are so many scholars that have all the knowledge of the Upanishads, but still the mind still has a disposition to go outward, and they are incapable of understanding, the true nature of the self. Why? Because they see the scriptures, and the mind moves to the scripture rather than keeping the disposition to move to one's very nature. The scripture is pointing that reality is your very nature, and then the scholars see reality is what is in the scripture. So this is a sort of outward disposition that deceives people when it comes down to spiritual knowledge. Now, you remember James saying several times, Vedanta is not about Vedanta. Vedanta is about you. So if we look at Vedanta as somehow a field of knowledge that could add some up to our fullness, and then we are misled. And this is part of those tendencies, extrovert tendencies to move outward. They don't have a purity of mind. Oh, but they are so intelligent, they learned everything. Yes, but they are extroverted. They want they are not crazy for experience, but they are crazy for knowledge as a mean to, complete themselves. But objective knowledge will never do it. Only aparoksha jnana, as we say. Second-hand knowledge of the self. Here it's about that. It says second-hand knowledge of the self gathered from books or gurus can never emancipate a man until its truth is rightly investigated and applied to himself. Direct realization alone will do the job. Therefore, follow my advice and realize yourself, turning the mind inward. So beautifully said and not so easily accomplished, because as we know, in order to turn the mind inward, the mind needs to be purified. All those bits and pieces of ignorance that extroverts the mind needs to be cleared. And meaning to say, one needs to go through karma, dharma, upasana, and whatnot before we can just be someone like Parashurama. Guru says, okay, this is the deal here. Don't fall for academic spiritual knowledge. Don't be a scholar. Okay, so secondhand knowledge will not help you. Even if the guru is a great guru, this academic secondhand knowledge has to be firsthand, and firsthand knowledge is aham brahmasmi, aparokshayana, and it is a doubtless understanding in regards to one's true nature. No, it has to be investigated and applied. Nididhyasana, shravana, manana, nididhyasana. So we get a lot from Shravana. I wrote a satsang the other day in Portuguese language to a question, which somebody was saying like, oh, I know for sure that I am the self, but I forget it. But during the classes, I know it for sure, and then I tend to forget later on. So I wrote this satsang saying like, okay, the first stage is Shravana, and Shravana. In Shravana, most people develops a certain clarity and certainty. I know, I understood. I am consciousness. I am free, free from the experience of this body-mind. And then I put that as everybody has Shravana self-knowledge. Shravana self-knowledge is available to almost everybody. But the deal here is how to keep that knowledge once you are not listening to the guru or reading the scriptures. Okay, so once you are there, doing your Shravana, the self-knowledge appears to be firm. And then later on, why? What is missing? What's missing is manana and nididhyasana, which is the homework that rarely you find people doing, because people do not have enough time, and they don't have enough time because they did not develop the maturity to understand the real value of self-knowledge. They have other things to do. And then they come to the class in the weekend here in Vedanta, Brazil, and they all feel like, oh, yes, I know. And many days say, no, I know, I'm sure, I'm conscious, blah, 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 blah. But the real thing is to see later on, whether you delude yourself or not, if this self-knowledge sticks, during your interaction with life, especially in difficult moments of crisis and adversities, if this self-knowledge survives those circumstances. So it has to be first-hand knowledge, and it requires Shravana. And but then in the end, the last sentence here, only direct knowledge will do it. Therefore, follow my advice and turn your mind inwardly. So this is a job that only the disciple can do. Okay, now that you heard the teachings, you feel free during the satsangs, but you need to be feel free at all times. So you need manana and nididhyasana. And that only the disciple can do. Let's see what Parashurama says. She who is the transcendental consciousness, Tripura, creating all and comprising the essence into Namarupas, is pure radiance and therefore devoid of anything insentient. So just imagine the condition. If Ishvara is pure Sattvaguna, pure radiance, and the nature of Ishvara is total sentience, sentience, and consciousness is absolute pure chit, sentience, the source of chit, the source of existence. Therefore devoid of anything insentient. So it's pure sentience. consciousness and also Ishvara. But it appears as it comprising its essence to create jivas and jiva-atmas. But she, consciousness, Brahman, is in her own self, undefiled by the ego, remains free, no? Reposing, resting, free, as we know. Nothing touches you as consciousness. Nothing touches you as Tripura, as Turiya, howsoever we call. This consciousness is this subject, witnessing non-experience principle that it rests at all times, never getting excited with anything of this world. So this is the nature, the future of consciousness, unchanging, not doing anything, just the witnessing, the source of Chit, which allows us to witness our experience. And the more we have this knowledge, the more we enjoy this future of equanimity as we witness favorable and unfavorable objects of experience. The insentient cannot exist of themselves, but depend on the sentience of Tripura, on this supreme intelligence for their recognition and definition. So the sentient, the insentient, the inert world depends on consciousness to be projected by the power of Maya, and depends on our consciousness, this reflect consciousness, to be recognized by I and say, okay, this universe does really exist. So, and then we find attributes and qualities for all configurations produced by Maheshwara. So everything depends on Tripura. Everything depends on this transcendental consciousness. The insentient universe cannot exist by themselves. They depend on Tripura, not only for their creation, but for their recognition and definitions. Oh, okay, no, I found this one here. Oh, I found a new mammal now, a new animal somewhere. And then we found, okay, so what are the characteristics? What's the shape? What's the color? And what it does, what it eats, So we have to define all of these things and somehow put in the clouds to hold this knowledge, these definitions, determinations that we collect over centuries and millennia about the nature of media, the nature of this phenomenal world. They cannot shine this inert universe by its own merit and reveal their own existence. They cannot reveal their own existence by their own merit. Their existence is revealed by the Sat aspect of Tripura, the Sat aspect of Brahman. Brahman is the existence that lends existence to everything in the universe. And it is the Chit, the conscious, intelligent principle that lends a little bit of knowingness to the human jivas in this planet. So they do not reveal themselves by themselves. Sat aspect of Tripura is revealing its existence of the inert world to us. The whole show depends on us because we are the ones this setup is put into place so that we can play the game. Just imagine Maheshwara without intelligent jivas. What is the fun of Maya? There is nobody to deceive, to trick, and to delude. Maya would be frustrated. No. I cannot create all of these and now have the players there so that I can enjoy tricking them. So it's all played for us. They have, therefore, no repose. They are never really resting. And this goes to the Jiva-atmas. The Jiva-atmas can never really be at peace, just being, like many people in the New Age world says, just be. And they have a hard time to just be and just witness without being, caught up with attraction and repulsion, which creates discomfort and suffering. But pure intelligence is absolute, shines by itself and feels its own existence without any extraneous aids, since it is self-radiant and it is self-reposed. Okay, so this transcendental consciousness, intelligence, is absolute, shines by itself, and it senses its own existence without any extraneous help. It senses itself with and without Maya's superimposition of Namarupas. Shines, and it's going to shine the superimposition introduced by Maya Ishwara, and it does that without any extraneous help. Shines itself, but the superimposition is done by Maya Ishwara. Without Maya, this superimposition is non-existent, because furthermore, it's not real, it's just a mirage, a phenomenon. The existence of this absolute consciousness is there. It is self-luminous, it is self-existing, and it does not care about whatsoever superimposition Maya produce. And it is shining by itself without any help, because it's self-shining. Since it is self-radiance, it is self-reposed. Interesting. Just imagine something that is not self-shining, self-luminous, self-radiant. Let's say if somebody comes with a new philosophy saying that this universe that we know is not self-contained, I mean, it's created by a certain God, but this God, he gets, a conscious existence from another source. Right? And then Ishwara would not be self-contained, would not be self-luminous, because he's getting the light of conscious existence from another source. The moment that you have a dependence on a extraneous source of conscious existence, you can never be at repose, because you depend on something. You see the game here, how beautiful all these words fit together. If you're not self-luminous, self-radiant, self-existent, self-conscious, you will never be self-reposed. But if you are self-luminous, self-radiant, and self-conscious, your consciousness is your nature, your existence is your nature, the light of consciousness is your nature, and then you repose. Why? Because you are not all the time freaked out in regards to the source of conscious existence that may play some how you say in politics, may bring about some how you say, when nations apply certain things against other nations, like the war with Russia, the United States has imposed certain, what is that? I forgot the name.
I don't know what you're thinking of. Do you have an idea, Mark?
You remember?
I'm not exactly sure.
Huh?
Sorry, I said I'm not.
Again?
Oh, sorry, carry on, Sylvia.
Sanctions. Just imagine. I mean, the source of conscious existence comes here and say, this universe here is under control of Ishwara. You guys call him. Okay, I have some sanctions here. 5 billion years without conscious existence, and then Ishwara and everybody down here would be freaked out. So if we depend on something else, some other source, you understand? for our fullness and completion. You know, if we establish our identity as the dependent body-mind complex, which depends its conscious existence from Ishvara and Brahman, if we establish our identity on that which is absolutely dependent and not free, and then we are never going to be at peace, repose. But if we establish our identity in our true nature, which is self-luminous, self-conscious, self-radiant, self-effulgent, self-contained, not dependent on any other source that could bring about some sanctions against us, you know, and then we relax. I'm self-contained. Such is the perfect I. How beautiful, the I that we mention again and again. I. This is the perfection of this I. This is the transcendental I, or the capital I, or the I, but it's just the same I, because the nature of reality is non-duality. There is only one I. It's just a question of how you define this I. You define as the body-mind in its substantial phenomenal constituents, you know, or you define as the source of these constituents, which is consciousness. Define yourself as your true nature, and then you are perfect. No? You are the perfect I, which is not present in insentient creation. So it's referring to us, Jiva. We have to value this I that we experience every moment of our life. It's not present in the inert universe. It shines in certain jivas, no? Configurations with subtle bodies, complex organisms with a certain intelligence. And then we have this I. This I is the perfect I, the transcendental I, and we should value this I rather than waste it. Because we never know. We can always come back as a cockroach.
But Arlindo, isn't it present in the insentient creation? May not be available for appreciation, but
you say that this I is integral part of the inert creation, yeah?
Yeah.
Because this I, it depends on the subtle body or the body-mind complex, so that it emerges I. Yeah? So again and again, if this I identifies with its physical, material, energetic nature, the gunas and everything, it is just inert. When we say again and again, the three bodies, which makes us human beings, the three bodies, they are all inert matter. But the I is something else. The I is quite a phenomenon. That's, I mean, every such song of mine, I try to bring us to this point.
I'm sorry. So the I, we're talking here just about chit without the sat. But how can you get the chit without the sat?
That's why a human life in this dense realm of physicality is said to be indispensable according to our scriptures, you know, according to Swami Paramarthananda. We need to be here hooked up or associate with a physical body. The physical body has what? The physical instruments of perception and action. Through these 10 channels in the mind, we're going to extract knowledge, understanding, wisdom, okay? So the moment we don't have that, and then according to the scriptures, we can't really grow, okay, our scriptures. So what is this perfect I? This perfect I, which can be said to be the ego, okay? It is the ego, the ignorant ego, when it's identified I, the body-mind, I, the three bodies. The three bodies of matter are inert. They are insentient, okay? So, but within Mithya, there is something which is the nature of Mithya, which is invisible, it's substratum. that nobody knows. We see in Mithya, there is the background, which is reality. There is the mirror of consciousness, which is there. We see Mithya, we see the micro reflecting medium called the human subtle body. There is something there which is consciousness, as the light of consciousness that is experience our environment and our experience and extract some knowledge. So what I mean to say is that in this insentient creation, there is reality, okay? And the reality is so subtle, more subtle of the subtle, so invisible, most invisible, that can never be found. But all the scriptures say you find it in the eye, because the eye is not the three bodies. The eye is consciousness reflect, which is of the same nature of original consciousness. Yeah? Okay? Understood? This eye is perfect. This ego eye is transcendental eye. But how so? Oh, you just have to shift the identity of this I from the three bodies to consciousness. And then this I now is the perfect transcendental I. Oh, but it is in Mithya. It is in Mithya, but it's not Mithya. Okay? So I often say in my Brazilian group, it is only in Mithya that nature of Satya can be found. In Satya, nobody's going to find the nature of Satya, because in Satya there is no opportunity for the dualidade, knower and known, to establish any knowledge or ignorance. Satya is beyond knowledge and experience. Reality can only be found in Mithya. And how so? As the very substratum of Mithya, the very base nature, essential nature of Mithya. Okay? So what is that? It's the all-pervasive conscious existence. So it's in here, shining. But when it shines, it dilutes us due to the power of Maya. It appears as so many names and forms and colors. But in this, okay, you have the scriptures you're going to point out. So discount the Namarupas, and what you're going to find? Conscious existence. Okay, and then the I comes. And then the I says, I am the three bodies. And then the scriptures say, follow the I. Because the I is the original I. The reflected consciousness appears as I, and this reflected consciousness is original consciousness. Jiva-Atma is Paramatma. You understand? So, but it's just a question of understanding one's nature. Then our nature is not the three bodies. Our true nature is consciousness. The three bodies are superimposed by Maheshwara, and then we have the I. So it is, as I often say in my Brazilian group, is within Mithya that we can find the true nature of Satya. You're never going to find Satya in Satya. You find in Mithya, because this knowledge is available for the poor Jiva-Atmas that were deluded by Maya. And then we have to find it as where? In the plane, in the dimension of the duality, knower and known, which is Mithya. In Mithya, we need to find the invisible substrate of Mithya as the only reality. You understand? And we find it following the scriptures until we understand that the nature of this universe is consciousness, and there is a constant signpost saying, yes, and I am consciousness, and all the time I refer to myself as I. What is this I? As Ramana Maharaj used to say, what is this I? Follow the I. Right? Who am I? Go to the source. Discover this I. Tell me if it is the three bodies, or if it is limitless consciousness, not subject to birth and death. No? That's all there is to this knowledge. Understood, Lynn? Why it says here that we have this perfect I, the transcendental I, and the transcendental I is not present in the inert creation. Why? Because you need to be a sentient being, and furthermore, an intelligent organism, an intelligent sentient beings, to have an I, you understand, a conscious I. And this conscious I, in this planet, as a human being, in those rare individuals, gone through a process of purification, refinement of this I. So for these beings, for these Jiva Atmas, it has the potential to understand the transcendental nature of this very I, this human consciousness. Let's call it human consciousness. What is this human consciousness? Is it limited or unlimited? Oh, I have to think about that. Yes. So come to Vedanta and take your time, think about that, but try to redefine yourself. What is this I? The inert beings do not have this privilege. It's a big privilege, but it has a huge price tag attached to it, as we say in the USA, because all the other creatures, as it seems, they don't have a clear thought I. We don't know how they experience this world and themselves, but we know that we experience the I after 2-3 years. And this I gets identified with the material nature as the body. But the price tag here is that the other jivas, they have a certain sentience, but they just follow their programmed nature, and they are not subject to adharma. They are not subject to bad karma. So why? Because they are programs. But we make bad use of this human consciousness, and then gradually it takes us in a position of Kali Yuga, in which we all have to deal with a huge karma of forgetting God, forgetting Brahman, forgetting spirituality, forgetting moral, ethical, and then we find ourselves in a situation in which everything is going kaput, crazy. Materialism took over, okay? And let's forget God, the creation, the creatures, and let's all join with artificial intelligence, and let's be robots. What's it is suicidal, spiritual suicidal. Because the aggregate of all phenomena is of pure intelligence. The aggregate of all phenomena is of pure intelligence, the supreme intelligence. There is nothing beyond the orbit of this intelligence, because it's all pervasive. There cannot possibly be anything to divide this all pervasive consciousness into part sectors. So Tripura is unbroken and continuous, like a mirror reflecting image in a water mirror. Everything is contained in this mirror-like reflection in consciousness. How are divisors and division possible for the absolute Tripura? Such freedom from disintegration or fragmentation is perfection. The freedom from fragmentation, which is the one becomes many, and then it was fragmented or divided into many parts. The scripture says again and again, what you are is a partless whole. This partless whole is very important to be understood. There are no divisions. The divisions are just like apparent divisions, mirage. So there is no fragmentation in the perfection of consciousness, the consciousness we are. The self-radiance of such perfectness is unbroken. Is many times referred as the I consciousness, the I behind the human I. It's known as self-repose. the eternal, immanent, unique, homogeneous essence of the entire universe. Everything is only this. We have lost Mark, as it seems. How are divisors and division possible for the absolute Tripura, Satchitananda Brahman? How divisions are possible? Though descriptions of and statements about the Supreme Tripura differ according to the aspects emphasized, yet Tripura, Satchitananda, Brahman, howsoever, is simply self-sufficiency, energy and abstract, unbroken, the single essential being, all unified in one, just as light and heat go to make fire. Yet these three factors are discussed and described separately in practical life. Very beautiful. So we see so many descriptions which they seem to be different, like because they are different features of consciousness, of Brahman, of Tripura. This is presented differently according to the aspects emphasized. Okay, so when we say that consciousness does not change, consciousness does not do. Consciousness is the only existence as well. Consciousness is self-contained. These are all relative pointers to show that everything that exists in Mithya is part of this chain of cause and effect, and every effect depends on its cause. I depend on my father, who depends on his grandfather. So everything is a chain of cause and effect, but this cause and effect is not really real. So this Supreme Self is said to be beyond cause and effect as well. It's self-sufficient, self-contained, is the source of all energy. It is abstract, it's unbroken. Different ways to explain, to try to present the self by the use of analogies or examples. In this example can be pointed to in two ways. Mark is back. Hey, Mark. So, the scriptures of and the statements about Satchitananda Brahman, the Supreme Tripura, may be different according to different aspects emphasized, the features of Brahman. Why we have all these features of Brahman? When we look at all the features of Brahman, the most fundamental are its very nature, which is Satchitananda. But we see the scriptures presenting other features as well, like self-contained, self-sufficient, self-luminous, all-pervasive, the most subtle, the only source of all energies, and unbroken, homogeneous, and non-dual. Non-dual, a single essential being, goes to undual, non-dual. Non-dual refers to the Ananda aspect of what we are. We are limitless because we are the only reality. This consciousness is the only reality, the only true reality. So all of that, they are the scriptures. Fundamentally, the scriptures is to stay with the true nature of Brahman, which is the true nature of the ego, which is existence, consciousness of non-dual nature, or of a limitless nature. But then for the sake of communication, the self is presented here and there according to different features, most of the features are negating features. It's not this and this and that, like it's not part, product, or property of matter. It's not this and this and that. It's not. So most of them is they are relative to what appears to exist here. Say consciousness is none of these things, and it's not a product or property. Yeah? Or it's not a part of anything. It's not that consciousness is part of the human body mind. No, consciousness is not part of it. Oh, yes, it's there sitting in my brain. And then open the brain and look for consciousness. You are never going to find consciousness. It's just a muscle, the brain. And then it's there. It's in the subtle body. No, subtle body is just a reflector. Okay. So all of these descriptions, it helps us to get an idea of how Maya played this trick, and how Ishvara, with its supreme intelligence, can create intelligent organisms like human beings, on which this human consciousness shine as I am, I exist. So all of these descriptions are for the unified, non-dual oneself. And then he presents this analogy, which is beautiful, just as light and heat are two different features of fire. Yeah, we have three factors here. Yeah, we have light, heat, and fire. Yet these three factors are discussed and described separately in practical life. So in practical life, we're gonna see fire. We're gonna see light produced by fire, and the heat produced by fire, as three principles that can be discussed separately, but it's only one fire. Very nice example of why we have so many different features of consciousness, but they all go to those three aspects, which are the very nature of consciousness, which is Satchitananda, existence, consciousness of non-dual nature. Such is the power of Mr. Maya, the great illusionist, capable of accomplishing the impossible and remaining undefiled, notwithstanding her manifested diversity as phenomenon resembling a mirror and its images. She is eternal, single, unbroken, I-ness, existence, consciousness, running through all manifestation. Undefiled means remaining unrecognized.
It means remaining pure.
Pure. Yeah, pure, untouched, unaffected. Okay. Such is the power called Maya, capable of accomplishing the impossible and remaining unaffected, notwithstanding her manifest diversity as phenomenal, resembling like image on a mirror. So this mirror, like consciousness, Tripura, is the eternal, single, unbroken I-ness. Again, it's make a parallel between the I amness. Now, Sagada Maharaj used to call it I amness. I-ness is also very nice. This I-ness, which is the aham, before the aham associates with objects to define itself. It was one of the most important pointers of Nisargadatta Maharaj. Remain as aham, remain as I amness. Don't follow those extroverted tendencies to define this I amness as the body or through the other objects. Now human beings, they wrap themselves through the experience, which are nothing but interactions with the field of objects. And then one develops the ego, which is a self-image, ideas and notions which go far beyond the nature, the notion I am the body-mind. I am the body-mind, I am a professor, I am tall, I am, you know, everything is extracted by these interactions we have. So, but this consciousness is eternal, single, unbroken, remain there as the I amness shining in the mind of all Jivatmas. And it's the same consciousness running, pervading, permeating all manifestations, past, present, and future. These seeming breaks in the continuum of consciousness of Brahman, of Tripura, are said to be the non-self. These are said to be ignorance or insentience, the void, nature, non-existence of things, space, darkness, or the first step in creation, all of which represent nothing but the first scission in pure intelligence. What is decision? Modification could be said?
It's like a division.
Division. Yeah.
Like a schism.
To see something, yeah. Divide. Okay. We know that there is only consciousness is unbroken, continuous, homogeneous, without any inclusion within itself. And it's not part of anything, it's self-contained. And then it appears the breaks in, like the space within the pot and the space outside of the pot. And then we have 8 billion people, human people in this planet. And then we seem to have 8 billion space, because every configuration, supposedly, from this view of ignorance, they are containers of human consciousness. And they say, oh my God, there are so many consciousness in this world. Oh, I have to do something about my consciousness. And it needs to grow and this and that. No, I mean, if you want to see every body-mind having a unique feature, we have to look in terms of the mind. So the mind, the body-mind is unique. But the body-mind is not the ultimate eternal consciousness, it's just human consciousness. So if you see the minds and then you say, yes, there is more than 8 billion minds, slightly different one from the other, everybody under the spell of Maya, but different configurations of body minds. But this transcendental I, it's not defined as the modifications imposed by the gunas and by all the knowledge or ignorance acquired through the interaction with Jagata. So there are no breaks or divisions or separations or in and out for consciousness. But consciousness pervades everything. As we know, it pervades the physical body. It animates the body. And then something happens, the body is dead. Consciousness continues pervading the dead body. Where could consciousness go? The only thing that goes out is the subtle body, because fed up of that body somehow. It was too old, or it was some papa karma that had to produce an early death to some individual soul. So these breaks are not referring to consciousness, but to the mind, fragmentation, different minds, infinite numbers of minds. So these seeming breaks is in the continuum of consciousness are said to be the non-self. Again, I mean, in this line that I took, the minds are the non-self. We know how many times we hear that the mind, the ego, is the not-self. But how so if the scripture has just established that the ego is the self? It's your choice. The ego, under the spell of ignorance, Maya, is the non-self, because it believes to be the mind, it believes to be the intellect, the emotional center, the memories, the life story of this individual. So there is no breaking or fragmentation, but it's due to this ignorance, this video, we have this sense of fragmentation. This is ignorance. This is all the non-self, the non-self. The mind is the non-self. How so, man? It's unbelievable. I mean, the physical body, I could say, is no body, but my mind, my consciousness, how can it be the non-self? Yes, it is the non-self. Is the non-self, disguised as the self. And then the ego, is the ego sentient or insentient? The ego is insentient under the spell of Maya, because under the spell of Maya, the ego is going to identify itself as matter and energy. The ego, the same ego under the the ego, the ego with self-knowledge is going to identify itself as free, independent, limitless Tripura consciousness. Okay, so, and then is the ego the not self or the self? It is both, as I was saying. It depends on where we stand. Self-knowledge is just about making a stand on to support and claim your true nature or not. And this is not an intellectual game that some people believe that we are a little bit crazy. No. This is revealed knowledge and has an incredible impact on the life of an individual, and that is called moksha, freedom from this cosmic, eternal, almost eternal ignorance. So the ego, the mind, is the not self, which is synonymous of ignorance or avidya, and it is insentient. And then it kept saying it is void, it's not fullness. It's the nature, it's the non-existence of things, space, darkness, or the first step in creation, all of which represent nothing but the first season of pure intelligence. So we're going to stop here. I have maybe the following verse are going to clarify this, but it seems to be pointing to the causal body, the macro-causal body, or something else. We're going to see it next week. Okay? Anything from you guys?
I wonder if they use the word void in this sentence like the Buddhists use the word void, that it has no absolute nature.
Yeah, I believe so as well. Yeah. Darkness and void. And because void for us is the first step in creation.
Yeah, that's what I think they're pointing to here, is just the first, like, space, all the 5 elements. This is just the first schism in that oneness.
And it could be also the macrocosm causal body, in which that is the first step of creation as well. Everything is contained as seed or potential existence. So it sometimes is said to be non-existence, sometimes it's said to be space, darkness, but it's maybe the first step in creation, meaning to say the universe in potential seed formation, which is but the first season of pure consciousness. We'll see. I'm looking forward to it. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste. Thank you. The internet was good, huh? Okay, good to know.
Thank you, Alinda. It's been a beautiful satsang.
Thank you, Martin. We meet again next Monday, and I'm gonna be on top of things from now on. Bye-bye.